News of the Queen's passing seemed to seep across British skies, calling a nation to mourning. The nation answering the summons.
We just saw all the crowds, and I said to my husband, I think the Queen's died.
She meant everything to me, my family, a sense of community, loyalty, giving back to communities.
Queen Elizabeth was Britain's longest ever serving monarch. The history books will describe today as the end of an era. But for many here, that's not personal enough, especially in Windsor, where she and her late husband Philip were part of the fabric. It was from Windsor that the Queen delivered her message of hope during the dark days of the pandemic.
Better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again.
She's the person we've always looked up to. Somehow. It's just a sad day. Just a very, very sad day.
She led this country with great reverence and duty and respect and honor, and I just don't know if there would be another like her.
Princess Elizabeth, as she then was, grew up in front of the nation she would one day lead, becoming Queen and head of the Commonwealth at just 25, after her father's death in 1952.
Elizabeth is led here in solemn procession to be anointed.
The legacy of her reign was formed, say many, by a profound sense of duty, one that remained with her throughout 7 decades on the throne, and bringing with it a sense of stability for the nation during troubled times.
She always had a very clear vision as to what her role was and went absolutely straight forward and did not waver to the left or right.
There was a growing frailty in the Queen's appearance in recent years, and earlier this year, her son and heir, Charles, now King Charles, read the speech from the throne for his mother for the first time. But even just a few days before her death, the Queen was performing public duties again, meeting the United Kingdom's latest Prime Minister, her 15th. Prime Minister Truss today turning the page in an address to the nation.
And with the passing of the second Elizabethan age, we usher in a new era in the magnificent history of our great country, exactly as Her Majesty would have wished, by saying the words, God save the King.
At Buckingham Palace tonight, though, many in the crowd were still singing God Save the Queen. Too soon, perhaps, for some to let go. But there now begins, nonetheless, a process of deep transition for the United Kingdom.
So, Margaret, can we talk for a moment about that process? What is your sense of how people are taking this in? What strikes you?
Well, Adrienne, I think it's the sense of shock that people have. I mean, despite the Queen's advanced age, as you know, she was 96. Her mother lived to be 100, and I think many people here thought she would just keep going. And of course, they're also grieving. They're going through a process of grief. And during times of trouble in this country, especially when there's political turmoil, people have looked to the Queen to comfort them. And they're having to come to terms with the fact that comfort, that woman who offered them that, is no longer there.
All right, Margaret Evans outside Buckingham Palace tonight. That sound you can hear behind her is likely the building of scaffolding for what will be media positions in the days to come over the course of this 10-day mourning period and ultimately the funeral. Now, the Queen's death has now triggered, as we said, these 10 days of official mourning that have been planned in detail for so many years now, decades really. Those plans, as always, can still change. But this is what we know right now. Charles is already king, but there is expected to be an official proclamation. In the days to come, Queen Elizabeth will be returned to London. Later, the plan is for her to be moved in a procession to Westminster Hall, the oldest building in the UK Parliament. There, she will lie in state for 5 days for the public to pay their respects. Then, she is expected to be taken to Westminster Abbey, where her funeral will be held, the first one there for a monarch since the 1700s. Finally, she will be moved to Windsor to be buried next to her husband. Let's bring in Katie Nicholl, royal insider, commentator, certainly an expert, someone our viewers will be seeing a lot of over the next few historic days. Katie, I know you've had a lot to think about. Things have been happening very quickly today, but as you take a deep breath, what's going through your mind?
Sadness at the reality of the situation. Of course, we shouldn't be too surprised, should we? The Queen was 96. We'd seen her health rapidly decline. And yet, I think we all believed, a little bit of us, that she was invincible and that she would never leave us. And I think, Adrienne, the suddenness. I was there having a coffee this morning with her soon-to-be departed head of communications. I think, you know, the fact that she was going to die today was really not what I had expected, not what anyone had hoped for. But the fact that, as Buckingham Palace told us, and we do know very few details, that it was peaceful, that we understand the Prince of Wales, now King Charles III, was by her side. We don't think all of the other family members made it in time. Such was this sudden decline in her health, I think must give all of us some comfort. What is just a heartbreaking time for the nation.
So, Katie, walk us through, if you can, what we should be looking for in the next few days.
So we understand that tomorrow, King Charles III, our new monarch, and Queen Consort Camilla will come to London, to the capital. The Queen's body will remain in Scotland. There was always a contingency plan should she die at Sandringham or at Balmoral. It's my understanding that she wanted to die at Balmoral. It's always a place where she has felt happy and peaceful. She will lie in state in Edinburgh before being brought to London, where she will lie in state at Westminster Hall. And after 10 days of mourning, and expect, by the way, the queues to, I think, snake through the streets of London as people queue to see their Queen, this record-breaking monarch, their monarch, lying in state. This will culminate after around 10 days of official mourning, with the first state funeral we've had in this country since Winston Churchill, before the Queen makes her final journey to St George's Chapel in Windsor, where she will finally be laid to rest with her beloved late husband, the Duke of Edinburgh.
All right, Katie Nicholl in London, thank you very much. I suspect we'll see you soon, Katie.
Thank you.